There we are. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hey guys.
How's it going?
Yeah, feels like it's been a long week.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
Maybe let's start off with a hello from Sano. And Dad, why don't you tell us exactly where you're dialing in from?
Well, I'm dialing in from the Turks and Caicos. We are down here house sitting and getting acclimatized to the culture in the Turks and Caicos. Yeah, it seems to be like a lot of Canadians down here.
Yeah.
And, I'm trying to learn a little bit about sort of what the requirements are for residency here, and of course, so the situation is that they don't pay tax down here, but they don't have a lot of infrastructure. So it's local homeowner associations take care, like they build the roads, they maintain, they do all of that, and so they don't really need there's no you don't get a speeding ticket down here, which is a good thing for me. Thank you. So because there's no police really. I mean, they do have a police force, but it's mostly they don't patrol speeding or anything like that. So anyway, there's a lot of that. So you have to be careful because people drink and drive down here, and you have to watch for that, and so they don't police that. But otherwise, it's been pretty interesting. And what I know about it so far is that if you give up all of your not worldly possessions, but if you give up your Canadian possessions, you can become a resident, not a citizen, but a resident of the Turks, and you really have no tax to pay. But you can only do that if you don't have any assets. If you don't hold any assets in Canada. So I'm here to learn a little bit more, and I will. That's not the purpose of the trip here. Of course, we're dog sitting and house sitting. So while I'm here, I will be learning about what it's like to invest down here and reside down here. Our neighbors are developers, so we're getting the lowdown. And I hope I will soon be fully immersed in it. I'll have more to report back maybe on the next live stream.
Great.
Okay.
What's the flight down there? Like, what are the typical airlines that are going down there?
The best flight from Calgary or from Vancouver, from Western Canada, is the flight to Toronto, 3.5 hours, 4 hours, and then the flight from Toronto here, direct, which is close to 4 hours, 3.5, 4 hours again.
Okay. So
that was a little bit brutal because the flight down here is not on, not on the belt. It's like 737. So 737 for 3.5 hours is a little uncomfortable.
Yep.
But we made it. We survived in one piece. Got here.
I'm happy to see that. Michael and Daniel, you guys are both dialing in from the office, and I'm at home because I suppose I could have been there too, but it gets a little boomy.
Yeah, we're in the office here today. Just a quick stop in before a full day of showings and listing photographs. And
Busy back home. Market's still busy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, yes and no. So the market,
what's happening?
For us, feels a little quiet, just sort of anecdotally. Through July, though, compared to last year, 18% more sales, and 34% less listings in July. Year to date, though, it's not quite as tight. It's 18% more sales again, but only 24% listings year to date compared to last year. So tighter than last year, but it's I don't know. Maybe that's a sign that it's easing up a little bit this year. Maybe hard to say just yet if it's going to come around and be a balanced sort of market before the end of the year. The other thing is, as people wait for that to come around, is that the year-to-date benchmark prices have come up 12% since this time last year. So waiting will cost you. If you're waiting for the right home, waiting for the right conditions, it will cost you at this rate. So just something to be aware of.
Yeah, they're seeing, the buzz that I'm hearing is that everybody's moving to Calgary from across Canada and elsewhere.
Mhm.
So everyone you talk to, I mean, and you run into people in the airport, and they're like, everyone's moving to Calgary. So that's a good thing. Plus, immigration. I'm not sure how we're handling that whole situation with. They're talking about perhaps even increasing the immigration, if not throttling it down. Which I don't know. Like that, we don't have affordable housing. We just don't have a solution for affordable housing, and increasing immigration, or even the current level of immigration, is really taxing the system. Not only the healthcare system, the housing, just everything. So I don't know. The federal government's got to get a grip on the situation,
Mhm.
because that is causing a problem. It's an unsustainable problem for the housing industry in Calgary right now. Like we're going to have there's going to be some consequences to that.
Would
Anyway.
you say, I think on the flip side of immigration, with baby boomers retiring,
Mm-hmm.
we need earners paying taxes to pay for retirements, and sort of additional sort of stress on the healthcare system.
Exactly.
I think long term it's still a healthy thing, but yeah, I think in the short and medium term it's creating some pain and pressure on the housing market for sure.
Yeah, well, so taxing the system, there are people coming in that are getting full citizenship in, in a short duration. I don't know how long it takes to get it, but I mean, they're essentially granted it once they land, and they're not contributing to the system. And so, for those of us who have been contributing for the last 100 years, families that have, it's a challenge because it's not equitable. And I don't mean that in any way, to discriminate against newcomers, because we all were or are newcomers. I mean, I'm first generation. You guys are second, but yeah. Well, actually, you're not. You're first generation, Mike. Loosely. You're half first generation.
Yeah.
How do you call that? Quarter generation? I don't know. Anyway, because your dad was born in Italy.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
we all kind of came in background. In my previous career, I worked with a colleague that she came from India to the U of A, and then completed her master's, and getting her permanent residency and citizenship, it actually took quite a long time. It was a multi-year process, probably about 4 years. So it's not necessarily that easy for all of these newcomers. And I think like there's also like the issue of like integrating them, in terms of their credentials and whatnot, placing them into the proper skilled positions that they're trained for. It's a very complex issue, I guess, and probably like a better issue for another podcast, to be honest.
Probably.
It's like can of worms.
Yeah.
Yeah, likely is.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I'm hearing. That's the buzz I'm hearing. But mostly the prominent thing is that everybody's moving to Calgary, and so we are going to see continued demand for housing, mostly affordable housing, and So I mean, if you want to predict the future in Calgary, if you want to be if you want to go where the puck is, Michael, obviously, then where the puck's going, you want to build affordable housing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe to touch on the market in general and that tightness and what we were trying to do, I think the other thing we wanted to maybe discuss today was the three of us younger fellows, while Dad's been off gallivanting, have been trying to drum up some listings because things are so tight, and we have a few buyers that are looking for a particular product type. So we've gone into some of the neighborhoods and have been, excuse me, door knocking on villas actually, and it brought to mind that there are some challenges that's real estate agents, I think, in general face when they're looking for when you're working in the business, and those challenges really are like that knocking on somebody's door and asking them to sell their house is a little intimidating and not always the easiest thing to go do. I know I certainly felt that, and I think it's safe to say that Michael and Daniel, you guys probably experienced a part of that too. So
Yeah, totally. And I think that, one strategy to get over that is, there's a bit of safety in numbers in a sense,
yeah,
having, it's like having a gym buddy. You just, someone to keep you accountable. If you say, hey, we're going on this day and time for door knocking, well, you show up or you let someone down. So
momentum helped too. Like if we're going in numbers, it's so easy when you're considering doing it on your own to just say, I don't have time today, I'll do it tomorrow. Because it is intimidating. How you approach it can be people will be not responsive to you knocking on the door and asking them to sell their home at all, and sometimes be a little short. I myself might consider that intrusive and say no, like no, thank you, get off my step.
Yeah,
Beat it. So I don't know, Dad. One thing I wanted to maybe ask you was if there was anything you found particularly challenging in over the time of your career that you had to really push yourself through, or maybe rather more specifically, what was the hardest or most difficult prospecting thing that you found or that you encountered, and how did you get over that?
Well, I mean, in sales, fear of rejection is what you have to overcome, and just know that it's you are offering a service, a valuable service, especially if you know your trade as we do. That we're some of the best in the business, and you kind of have to walk with that kind of confidence that hey, you have an opportunity to work with the best. By the way, are you interested in selling your house? This is what we offer. But that fear of rejection, is like you know that the statistics are that one in every whatever the number is, 50 people will be, yeah, gosh, I've been waiting for somebody to, I'm looking for someone qualified and experienced, and you just have to get to that. So 40, number one is like, okay, I'm one. The first no you get, you're 49 people closer to that, and that's how you have to approach it, always from a positive vein. But I can tell you that I get excited by door knocking because that's how we built the business. Back in the day, we used to cold call on the phone, and we would. I mean, that's how we made our living. We had no business when we first started, and we had a reverse directory back then in the day. You could actually get phone numbers of people on the block, so you could call an entire neighborhood. And we would usually start at the bottom of the page because nobody's ever got to the bottom, and people are always intimidated to call. But yeah, just that, getting over the fear of rejection and not taking it personally. It's just, you're offering a service, a valuable service. They're lucky to be approached by you. And in fact, it sounds a little cocky, but it's the truth, in fact. So yeah, that's how you have to approach it.
Dan, I'm going to ask you a question. Is there, so you're using Dad's math there of like 1 in 50. If number one is a yes and 100 is a yes, is there anything that you use to stop from getting discouraged from 2 to 99 when you're making those phone calls or doing that stuff and not taking it personally? Because I know I've taken a couple of L's recently and I took it pretty personally, and I need some guidance some help with the strategies on not taking it so personally.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's a couple different topics there, right? I mean, taking it personally, that's this is business, right? And so I guess in one way you're kind of the face of it, and you're the one that is delivering the news and receiving it. But if somebody decides to make a business decision that doesn't involve you, I mean, how many times have you driven by a gas station and not chosen that gas station, right? It's business. So I think the mindset just has to be on to the next in that sense. And then to prevent from kind of getting discouraged between 2 to 99, I think that we're here to provide for families, right? For our families and people that rely on us. So that's the motivation for me. Is just if I decide to go out only at 9 o'clock and come back at 5 and just do the number one, 2 to 99, those could be legitimate listings or deals or whatever. And so there's just motivation is just this is what we do. So taking a break from it doesn't further any of our goals.
Yeah, and I'll just add that like not many agents do that. I think it's refreshing to see agents doing it because in the realm of social media and everything, people rely on leads, I suppose. It demonstrates to me a hardworking agent, somebody who will go the distance. And the fact is, we're door knocking because we have a buyer who's actually in need of a property. So, to get on, put your shoes on and get out and hit the pavement is, shows a little bit of grit, determination, and I think just a good work ethic. So, keep that in mind. I mean, it's not every agent does it.
I think a lot of agents are putting out this sort of luxury real estate lifestyle where it's just, it's kind of a rock star lifestyle. You just drive fast cars and then that's how you get business. But, and we're putting together a bit of a campaign here that, we're documenting what we're doing and we're going to put that out and just say, this is the hard work, walking around for a couple hours in 30-degree weather, getting 99 no's and 1 maybe. So yeah, we're gonna take a little bit of a different approach on social media. So, yeah.
Michael, what about you? Is there as not by much, but as the newest agent with our group, is there anything that you have that's maybe a novel approach to getting through those no's and staying positive? Because I'll say that you're probably the most positive of our group. Your optimism is encouraging and refreshing.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that, but I would say okay. So first off, I'm an introvert, even though some people might not believe that. I'm a total introvert, and I think, to be honest, like all of us are kind of introverted a bit. So it is hard to take a step out and create those conversations, or at least to attempt to initiate those conversations. Because especially in this day and age, answering the door and even answering a phone is not, it doesn't happen a lot. Like, compared to 10 and 20 years ago, a lot of people screen their phone calls, as well as screen the people at the door and
ring doorbells and.
Yeah. And so what helps is having a very, 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 I guess, like very clear request or a clear offer to the people that were ringing the doorbell, at that, so that it doesn't have to be a very, very quick conversation. It's a quick introduction, just a polite, quick introduction. And, just letting them know that we have some buyers that are looking for houses that, that they own, and are they contemplating selling, essentially is the message. If it leads to, quite often it's like, no, we're not. We love the place, and it's my response is typically like, I can see why, and this is why our clients are looking for places like this, because of the beautiful view, or the great build of the homes in the area, or whatever, like the great little community spirit in that like little complex. And then you just kind of perhaps you follow it up with one final question, like, do you know of any other homeowners or friends or neighbors that are also selling? And so that final question, as you're posing it as like, you're already signaling to them that it's the final question. So, you're essentially kind of almost stepping away from the steps. They actually quite often kind of say, yeah, actually number 61 down the way is contemplating selling. And so you kind of get a little bit of information, and as long as I think what's most important is that you're respecting their time, and are just clear, with your communication. And so like, even though it's a no, it's okay. Like, so
Yeah.
you kind of, you're not taking it personally, like, because you're almost assuming that. I think like the most important thing is it's out of the 140 houses in a complex, you're almost wanting to just rule out all of the houses. So if you look at no's as like it's an additional bit of progress towards the end of the goal, then it's not so bad. You know what I mean? And you're polite along the way, and out of the 100 and some houses, maybe you make 3 sort of somewhat positive connections where you're leaving a card, or the postcard that we were sort of walking around with. It's also nice to have a bit of a thing to talk about, we had postcards. I don't know, a bit of a rambling answer, but this is kind of like some of the strategies that I think the 3 of us employed, as we were doing it. But yeah, it's painful. Like I can't sugarcoat it. It's painful to like go up and knock on doors or ring doorbells. But
Yeah. Along that lines, Michael, I think one of the things that keeps it positive is always find something to compliment them on during the conversation. Wow, beautiful garden. Just wanted, or during the conversation. Well, we always find something, a positive note, and it keeps your work positive as well. It just keeps you in a positive frame of mind. So.
I did on the note. I do want to point out I only had one negative interaction in the last couple of days doing this. This one guy, he didn't even I just started speaking, and he just cut me off and kind of, I don't know, just closed the door. And it was just like, just let me get the damn sentence out, and so I was a little bit like, oh man. And anyways, you walk away and you leave that. But I thought to myself, like, if when the tables are turned and I'm answering the door, I do always give them the courtesy to finish their sentence, their introductory sentence. But I am typically one to, politely sort of decline, so I totally empathize with people who are just wanting to sort of like move on from that conversation.
I had one guy in the last complex we door knocked as well. He opened the door and said, "I haven't got any money to give you." Before I got anything out.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Great, I'm trying to make you money." Like, what? So, and that actually opened the door. We had a quick chat. He took my card and he said he would pass it along if he found if he heard of anybody else that was thinking about selling. But yeah, the trying to turn that on its head if you do get that immediate no is tricky, but possible, I guess.
Yeah.
Anything else, Dan? Do you have any?
Yeah, I don't actually. That was kind of all the topics we had in mind. It's the middle of the summer here, and so there's a lot of people away, a lot of vacation happening. For the next one, I'll be away if I can make it, and so yeah, just getting through the summer and back at it in September, which is coming up quick. So
Yeah, I hope to be back with a full report on investing in the Turks and Caicos and the tax-free living down here. I hope to have some insight on that.
Mhm.
Because there seems to be a lot of Canadians down here.
Okay.
Well, enjoy
wait
yourself.
for your detailed report.
You got it.
We expect 2 pages written.
You won't get that.
Okay.
Okay, well, thanks.
Reports
everyone.
only.
Thanks everyone for tuning in, and for all you for getting on camera. Have a great couple weeks. Talk soon.
All right.
Right.
Take care,
Thanks.
guys.
See ya.
Now.